Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place of everything related to Amazon FBA and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today we'll bring you another friend of mine for second time in a row now. His name is David Miller, and he's the founder of the law office of David L. Miller, and they specialize of everything that has to do with account suspensions, specifically around the Amazon space. And I know he has extensive knowledge with everything that has to do with account suspensions and everything that has to do with basically the health of your Amazon account. And that's why I want to have it on a second time, because I know everything that has to do with suspension. I mean, it's such a vast topic. Every single month, there's new suspensions coming up, new changes in the Amazon space, new policies. I mean, it's a minefield. And if you don't know how to tackle that, I mean, it can put your business in risk, right? So that's why, David, it's a pleasure to have you here for a second time in a row. And how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Vincenzo.
It's a pleasure, man. I think we met, if I'm not mistaken, or 1 month ago here in the UK. You are speaking at AmaFest, Brighton, which was, by the way, a very good event. I mean, amazing speakers, panels, people from all over the world came just for that event, and it was actually packed. There were actually more people that was meant to be there. So yeah, amazing. And yeah, we get to talk there, and that's what basically brought this second edition of this basic continuation around account suspensions, because I mean, we are highly aware that things are changing very fast in the Amazon space, and you personally have seen as well that there is new suspensions in the space. So I think we can start with that, with this episode. I mean, tell me a little bit of what you have seen in your clients in terms of suspensions, and what are some of the things you would advise Amazon sellers that they should start being aware of that.
Sure. So I don't know if it's necessarily new, but there are always trends that
Okay.
happen on Amazon. And I find that it happens in bunches. So, one trend that I'm seeing, I'm getting tons of calls about Section 3 suspensions.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be where there were essentially separate notices where if you were violating the seller code of conduct, Amazon would say that you were suspended for a seller code of conduct suspension. Or on the other hand, it was just a drop shipping suspension.
Okay.
Now, what Amazon has done over the last several months is send those notices, and they include both of them together. So
Okay.
Amazon will say that you're suspended for violating Amazon seller code of conduct policy and drop shipping policy. But here's what I'm finding: almost every time the seller is actually drop shipping, and they're doing
Mm.
it in a way that violates Amazon's policies. So Amazon is clear on what you can and can't do. It's even more clear now than it used to be. But the problem is that sellers are offering products and they're not making sure that they're the seller of record. So
Okay.
Walmart is a huge retail store here, and it's a way that a lot of sellers source their products.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the issue in and of itself. What Amazon has an issue with is that if an Amazon customer buys a product from you on your Amazon store and you have the product just shipped directly from Walmart,
Mm.
you never
Okay.
touch it. Okay. Now, a lot of times I get the question, what's wrong with that? Like, what's the problem? Walmart's legitimate. True. Walmart is legitimate. But the issue is that customer returns when they're not sure, say there's a problem with the product. The customer can be a little confused. Are they supposed to contact Walmart? Are they supposed to contact you? Amazon wants it to be that the seller themselves, that the buyer knows that you are the seller. Um, it can be a bit annoying and certainly
I know.
frustrating, but that is just the deal. They've been
Mm.
consistent on it, and
Yeah.
they've just been tough suspensions to overcome lately.
Yeah, to be honest, and not just that. I mean, first of all, yes, of course, people get confused and all of that. But I think the biggest issue I have seen as well when people do those kind of drop shipping is that if you receive a package, you buy on Amazon, you receive a package from Walmart, then you will say, okay, I received from Walmart. That means maybe this product is on Walmart.
Right.
They go to Walmart and they might see that maybe the price is like $30 cheaper, and you are just taking advantage of them. Then
Yep.
that triggers a series of of bad experiences to the customers, and I think that's one of the main triggers as well. I mean, people feel like you're taking advantage and flipping on them, right? So that's other things I have seen as well.
Exactly. And to
Yeah.
add to that, an additional reason Amazon hates drop shipping is, what if, for example, once you contact Amazon, Walmart is out of stock. Now the
Mm,
buyer is waiting for,
yeah.
sometimes it could be weeks, and then they're wondering where their package is. Amazon is very customer centric. So if your shipping times are delayed, drop shipping, eventually, if you drop ship enough products, you're going to run into that problem where products
Yeah.
will be delayed. So that's just another reason why Amazon is the way they are with these types of issues. So, in general, if you decided to drop ship and then your account was suspended, you're going to have to submit what's called a plan of action with three main components: a root cause, corrective actions, and preventative measures. So, if you had to write a plan of action before, it's no different. It's just related to drop shipping. Now, trends that I'm seeing in terms of success. Amazon has been way tougher about these. They've always been tough. But what I've noticed is, after two account suspensions in terms of drop shipping, so you've been suspended for drop shipping before, Amazon is not reinstating accounts.
Mm,
On the first try, if it's only your first drop shipping account suspension, I've seen Amazon with a bit more leniency. That doesn't mean it's easy, but I've seen
okay.
accounts have been reinstated every now and then. But the best way to combat this is really just to not do it.
Yeah.
You just don't have to deal with this. Not saying there aren't other issues that may come up, but drop shipping is just a tough suspension to overcome overall.
Yeah, and I guess if you could, of course, highlight some of the main things you see happening in these plan of actions, I bet you need to first of all say that you did it, because that's another thing I see a lot of people doing: denying, 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 and that's even worse. I guess what are some of the basics? I guess you need to say that you did it and then justify that you're not gonna do it anymore, right? In essence.
Right. So with drop shipping, once they flag you for it, they know you were drop shipping. They have various
Yeah.
ways of knowing. So denying it isn't really going to help much. You could try it. Some sellers are scared to say they were drop shipping, but from a legal standpoint, there's nothing illegal about drop shipping unless you were doing something fraudulent that's unrelated. But drop shipping in and on its face is not illegal, even
Mm-hmm.
though it is an Amazon violation.
Okay.
Secondly, you're going to have to show, what I find that has been successful is explaining to Amazon that you want to move towards an FBA model, so that
I
you're
see.
going to you're going to buy products the old-fashioned way, and you're going to send them to Amazon's warehouses, and they'll do the rest for you. That's what Amazon wants to hear, and it's just what I've found to be more successful.
Very nice. And have you seen the situation where actually you could get triggered as a drop shipper when you were not doing drop shipping in the first essence? Have you seen those cases, or they don't really happen with this kind of suspensions?
When they're drop shipping themselves.
Yeah, let's say actually they're not drop shipping, or maybe they did it just once and then they changed to FBA model. Is there sometimes, have you seen the case that they can go backwards, Amazon see your history and actually flag you for drop shipping, or something you did 6 months, 1 year ago, or something that is very punctual in present time when they flag you? Yeah.
I see. Usually, no, I don't really see that. The only times I've seen something like that come up is when it's not 100% FBA. So
Mm,
maybe they drop ship 10% of the time or 20% of
okay.
the time, they can still get flagged. But I've never seen them go back in time and say, you were drop shipping a year ago. If you stop it now, or if there's any sorts of issues that are being caused and you move towards an FBA model before you're suspended, that's really the way to go.
Awesome. Very good advice. Okay, great, great. So now dropshipping for sure is one of the main ones. What are things you have seen happening a lot lately, especially with all the changes we have seen lately in
Right.
Amazon space? What things have you seen? Yeah.
So, intellectual property related,
Mm-hmm.
notoriously in the past, there are two types, right? Suspected IP and received IP.
Okay.
Received IP is when a rights owner files an actual complaint claiming that you are infringing on their intellectual property. Those were always serious. They still cause suspensions today. They always have. Suspected is what I want to discuss today. Now, that is not a rights owner filing a complaint. That's Amazon flagging a listing for, it could be a few different reasons. Usually whoever created the listing wasn't careful. Maybe they put the brand name wrong, or maybe they're selling a different product and they used a brand name that they shouldn't have. The reason I'm bringing it up today is because what I'm seeing is it's causing account suspensions now. In the past, it was very rare. I could count them on one hand how often suspected IP complaints actually caused account suspensions. It just didn't happen very much. I've seen sellers with hundreds of suspected IP complaints. Amazon typically just said, delete the listings or change or fix the listings and you'll be fine. And in the past, that was true. All of a sudden, that's not the case. So this is the first time I'm shooting content on it, but I want Amazon sellers to know that if you do have suspected IP complaints that are coming through, that you should handle them now. Don't just let them linger. Now, the issue that I'm seeing as far as trying to fix the issue is sometimes you don't have access to actually do what Amazon's asking. They'll say fix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the seller isn't the one that created it. And then when you try and fix the listing, Amazon says, no, you can't. So it's like, okay, well, that's fantastic. Thanks for telling me something that we can't fix. So that's always a fun time. Other times they allow you to fix the listings and they do actually drop off the account. That's best case scenario because it's no longer, an issue.
Affecting. Yeah.
Right. That's effective. And then there's a third issue that comes up is when you're actually fixing the listings. It looks like it went through, but it doesn't in Amazon's backend system. So it still counts against you, but to you, it looks like they're available, that it's a fixed issue. So and the problem is that these account specialists have no idea about it. I had one client even tell me that they get emails daily about new updates and policy changes. And they were told that suspected IP is just if you delete the listing, you're fine. Had a client do that and he still got suspended. So I'm just urging everyone, don't just click a button and then not.
Because I hate when that's the solution for everything. I bet you see it. There's a solution for everything. Delete the listing, wait 24 hours and add it again. That's the solution for everything, right? Yeah. It's a nightmare because sometimes it's worse. That can even affect your organic ranking, your indexing. I mean, there are so many other issues that can get from there, and it's crazy.
Right. So what I would recommend is, there's a couple of factors here, right? So most of the time, the suspected IP issues that the listing themselves, I'm going to assume that they're not super important listings because a lot of times I see that sellers just, leave them lingering. Yeah. If it's not the case, that's something else. But here I'm talking about preserving your account health so that it doesn't get suspended, right? So the first thing I would do is try and delete the listing. See if it falls off the account. If it falls off the account, that's a really good sign, okay? If that doesn't work, you're going to have to contact Amazon, try and fix the listings, see if that way, if you get some sort of notification that Amazon says that it was successful. But it's hard to trust. It's hard to completely trust them. So I'd focus more on trying to get them removed completely. I wouldn't care necessarily about fixing the brand name because I'm worried that Amazon could still use it against you, and I've seen them do it in the past.
Okay, and especially if there are listings that, as you say, I have seen the same in some accounts. It's just all SKUs, all products that you forgot to edit them, and they stay there, and then you get the complaint, which is easier to delete them than try to fix them. To be honest,
Right. Yeah. So those are the few points to emphasize as far as suspected IP. The last is providing Amazon documentation. Now. Sounds simple enough, but oftentimes Amazon just either doesn't accept it or they'll ask for a letter of authorization that you don't have. So that's, just not, it's harder to always provide, especially if the listing wasn't listed correctly or the brand name isn't right. The brand name might not even match on Amazon, so it gets messy. But those are the three ways of of going about it to fix these issues. And you really want to do this before it turns into anything bigger. If you get a notification that your account is at risk, it's already too late. So just knock them out as they're coming before the super stressful situation of that phone call.
Very useful, very useful. And for these cases, I mean, I know for sure we need to attack them as soon as they arise in our account, but have you seen, based on your experience, if there's certain amount of complaints Amazon must see before they suspend it, or it can happen with 10 complaints, it can happen with one complaint, or it's random, to be honest? Yeah.
So I wish there was an actual number,
Yeah.
because then you'd really know when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I've never seen any sort of consistency as
Wow.
far as really with IP in general, or with how Amazon acts. Like with, I've seen one ASIN cause suspensions, and then I've seen sellers who have 50 plus, 100 plus listings that are at issue, and their accounts are safe. So there's all sorts of theories that go out, that are out there about why that's the case. I'm not going to get into those.
Yeah, for sure.
Short answer is no, there's no consistency with it. That's why it's really just best to just keep it as clean as you possibly can.
Very good. Awesome. Now we have covered drop shipping, we have covered intellectual property, in this case IP complaints. Is there anything else you have seen lately that you think would be useful to just give some highlights in terms of suspension in the Amazon space?
Yes. So yesterday was very big news in the Amazon world, and I'm happy to report some good news. I always talk about suspensions and things that I see happen. This sounds like fantastic news. Okay. It's called Account Health Assurance. Amazon, as far as I know, it was yesterday from the emails that I saw. But it's a brand new program that you're automatically enrolled in if your account health rating is 250 or higher for a period of 6 months. Now, what Amazon is saying they're going to do, we're going to see how this plays out. But what they're saying, if you are enrolled in that program, and again, it's automatic, they will not suspend your account as long as you work with them to resolve issues. Now, what does that mean exactly? They're saying that if there is an account health issue, and you typically may have been in trouble, they will contact you, and they'll give you 72 hours. So they'll try and contact you as long as you're in correspondence with them, so you're not ignoring them, that they will not deactivate the account. So that is unbelievable news, because there are so many sellers who they wake up one morning and they log in and their account is suspended. They had no idea it was coming. So now if Amazon is at least willing to work with you, that is just fantastic news.
Yeah, and not just that. I mean, you need to consider that this is huge for sellers that move big volumes of revenue, because imagine if you're down 2 or 3 days, that could be thousands and thousands of dollars that is affecting your cash flow, it's affecting the way your products are positioned, and sometimes it can take even weeks. So it's definitely a good thing, as long, of course, you have the good history of that account. So, but yeah, it will be interesting to see how it plays out, because I mean, it sounds too good to be true, but let's hope.
It does. It does a little bit, but it definitely puts an emphasis really now on your account health rating. And I think as time goes on, we're going to learn more about how Amazon really calculates that, because from what I'm seeing, there's still a lot of uncertainty with it. To a lot of sellers, it really just looks like a random number. It's obvious when you have significant account health issues why the number is lower, but I've seen accounts that, like it starts, I think it's out of 1,000.
That's right.
So it's like, how do you get 1,000, or, what sorts of issues are they seeing? But it's just something really to monitor, to make sure that the 250 is really the threshold you should be looking for.
Yeah, I think at the same time, if it works out to be like they're saying, it's also an incentive for people to have to keep good accounts, because they're not going to get suspended straight away anymore. So yeah, it will be interesting.
Right.
Now, just to start concluding as well, I would like to talk about tips around how to deal with suspensions. And I think this is also a little bit mixed with mindset and how you react to it, because I have seen so many times when you get a suspension, you start running around, you start writing random things, and you blow your first trial to plan of action, and then I mean, you know for a fact that once you blow the first trial, the second and the third one is like they give you less relevance and less relevant up to a point that they ignore you, right?
Right.
So what are some basic tips I would say you advised if you get that account suspension? What is the first thing you should do, and how to tackle it? Yeah, I mean, to don't waste that first try, Yeah.
It's a great question. It's one I get all the time. So the first step is as best as you can. And again, it's easy to say, but you have to try and take a deep breath, because if you're in panic mode, it's going to be really hard for you to focus and try and figure out what the issue is, what the exact issue is. So that's really number one. Number two, when you're preparing, when you're reviewing it, don't leave anything off the table. Usually Amazon will point to something specific. So if it's drop shipping, you're drop shipping, there's not much to review. The exact issue. It's not always that simple. Number three, when you're actually preparing the plan, there's a few things that I've noticed over the years that Amazon responds better towards. So one of those things are bolding and underlining important points. So you want to show Amazon, you want to put things first. All the important points should go first, and you want to bold them so that Amazon sees them. Don't bury them in the middle or put them in the end.
Or just a huge paragraph, everything mixed. Yeah.
Right. I've seen where sellers will use fluff at the beginning. Emotional, that's another one that's big. Avoid emotional appeals. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't care that you had a really rough day.
Or that you're struggling with money or family.
They don't care that you had to lay somebody off or that you had family issues. They just don't even talk about it. And if it's a drop shipping issue, Amazon doesn't care that you have a 99%, everything else is great, or that, you have 5 stars in, every review, or I see sellers talk about their overall account a lot. Again, Amazon doesn't really care. If they're pointing to one ASIN or they're pointing to one specific issue, that's really all you should be talking about. Okay. Sounds like something that's relatively simple.
But when you're panicking,
when you're panicking, you just start throwing everything at the wall. And those are, I'd say those are the most important general tips. Of course, depending on the specifics, certain things can change. But I think those are all great places to start, and they work for any type of issue.
Yeah, and I think that's why we have people like you. I mean, because at the end of the day, once you get an account suspension, it kind of also become like a legal battle. It's like you're filing legal cases here. You need to understand how to write it, how to transfer your idea to the person in the other end. And it sounds easy to say, like we're explaining how to do a plan of action, but sometimes if you don't know how to redact it, I mean, it's not natural for most people. So that's for sure why we need you to help these people when they're struggling 100%. Yeah. So now, let us know. I mean, first of all, before we conclude, is there anything else you want to cover today in terms of suspensions, tips, anything overall?
No, I think we covered everything. I'm as anxious as everyone else to see how this account health insurance works.
Let's give it a month or so and let's see what happens.
We're going to find out. I have the optimistic side of me, and then I have the pessimist where I'm just like, oh, is Amazon really going to, are they going to honor what they're saying? Is it really going to, because you look at the email, it sounds amazing. And then you wonder, like, how is it actually going to, be out there in the field?
Awesome. Yeah, let's do another episode once we have some more feedback on that.
Absolutely.
Great. So can you share with us where people can find you? I mean, you specialize on everything that we'll be talking today. So I always advise when you're dealing with these things, I mean, don't put your business in risk just because you want to save a couple of hundreds of dollars. I mean, it's your business and you need something professional to really take action as soon as possible. So can you share your information in terms of how people can reach you and get in contact with you? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. My email address is david@damlawfirm.com, and my phone number 516-313-1572.
Awesome. I'm going to make sure to put all that in the description. And once again, David, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. And hopefully I see you soon next year in London. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. Take care.
Take care.